Hi everyone, my name is Sam. I am a music educator and professional performer in the Salt Lake City, Utah area. I love teaching. I got a degree in performance and I thought that I would move to New York City or Los Angeles or Chicago where all the real musicians are and start making money as a performer. But once I started teaching, I realized that that's really where my passion is. I'm very good at teaching. I enjoy it immensely, and I don't really see myself doing anything else for my life, which is awesome. The topic of today's video is the discussion about warming up your voice. What is a warm-up? Well, we use the word warm-up in American society to describe our tendency to want to prepare ourselves to perform a function. A lot of the time, we think of a warm-up as taking place in the realm of athletics. You never run a marathon without stretching first. If you watch a swimming event, you will notice that as people are preparing to enter the pool for a heat, you will see them stretching. Same with track and field. You'll never see someone about to run a 400-meter dash without them first, you watch them getting ready. What those physiological actions are doing, what we call a warm-up, is it is literally warming your body up in the sense that these areas that you are stretching are sending fresh blood flow. There's fresh blood that sends the message to send it to those areas. And what that does is you got fresh oxygenated blood that is making those muscles more spry and more capable of withstanding a higher degree of tension. In order to throw a football 70 yards like Steve Young or Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers, those people are warming up. If you watch Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert in the Utah Jazz, if you go to a game at Vivint Smart Arena, you will notice about 45 minutes to an hour before the game starts, you will see them on the court with their trainers. They're stretching their legs, they are rolling out their back on those little foam rollers. What that's doing is it's telling those muscles, hey, wake up, I need to shoot, Steph Curry, right? Like, I'm making my living off of this function. The wrist is going down, we're gonna follow through, get that perfect arc, and then it's a 3-point shot every time. Warming up for singing looks very much the same, but instead of warming up our shoulder to prepare a tennis serve, we are warming up this part of our voice, the larynx. The larynx is a collection of muscles and tissues that work together through a combination of some pretty complex anatomy, basically to take your vocal folds, which are in the shape of a V, and then draw them together so that they shut. When we speak, our vocal folds come together and they vibrate. There is air in our lungs that comes up through our lungs as we exhale, and the pressure of that air traveling up through a bottleneck in our larynx creates closure. The air kind of sucks the vocal folds together. And warming up requires us to practice that in a way that won't hurt. You see me, that is, kind of bringing your vocal folds together in a way that's going to create a lot of fatigue. It's like punching. It's a little too much, especially if you haven't warmed up. So warming up allows us to get fresh blood into this part of our body, and it prepares us to have longer stamina so that we can speak in our jobs. This is not just for voice lessons. Warming up your voice every day will prepare you to have more confidence with the coworkers that you work with, the clientele. If you're a salesperson, you will immediately notice that people will subconsciously have more trust in you, because if your voice sounds gravelly and sick and fatigued, people will subconsciously make a note of that and say, hey, what's going on there? But if you come into a meeting with a coworker or your boss or a client and you have this really nice projection of your voice that came from a good vocal warm-up, then you will be able to achieve more confidence and more success in your work life. So it's not just for singing. Enough of that. Warming up is to prepare us for the function of singing. So there's two types of warm-ups. There's a physical warm-up, which is what I've just described the last few minutes, and then there's a mental warm-up. So we have to prepare our brains. We know that a huge part of success in the world of business, in the world of music, in the world of athletics relies on our ability to get mental resilience. You see people being tough. LeBron James is down 3-1 in the 2016 NBA Finals, and they have to win 4 games in a row to win against the Golden State Warriors, who at the time were the best team, arguably the best team in the history of professional basketball, maybe the 1990s Bulls or, the 1980s Celtics or Lakers, but certainly a pretty daunting task. And LeBron James did it, not because of his physiological strength, that's part of it, but because of his mental toughness. He's down 3-1 and he says, I'm going to win this match. You see this happen with elite athletes all the time, and it's just the same in music. You have to prepare your brain. And so a mental warm-up that you could do is just close your eyes and imagine yourself in whatever singing experience that you are hoping to have. Maybe it's you want to move to New York and be on Broadway. Maybe it's you want to go to karaoke and impress your friends and have a good time. Maybe it's just you love singing and you're at home and you're singing a song that makes you joy that you could record and share with your family or on social media. So close your eyes and just imagine that. What does it feel like? You can't control what happened in the past. So regretting the past, maybe you forgot your lines in a show and you're embarrassed and you cringe at the thought of, being so naked on stage, being exposed for not knowing your words, or your voice cracked during a concert. You can't control that. It happened. You need to move forward. Excise the past from your present as a singer and try to stay in the moment. Likewise, you can't predict the future. If you're about to go on stage and you have stage fright and you say, oh, what is this? Am I going to forget my words? I don't think I warmed up enough today. You can't control those things. What you can control is your preparation and your willingness to maintain mental resilience so that when the future happens, which you can't control or predict, you will do your best and know that if you just stay in the moment and come prepared to the things you're performing, then you will do a great job and you will learn a lot of lessons. I cannot tell you of a single performance I have had in public, and I have performed for more than 100,000 people at one point in my life. I have never performed a single time where I didn't make a mistake. Maybe not a mistake that everyone would have noticed, but that's the point, is you have the toughness to develop the ability to have mental resilience and carry through your mistakes. So that's a mental warm-up. And at the beginning of the video, I talked about physiological warm-ups. So let's get into that. If you've taken voice lessons with me, you'll know that I'm a huge advocate of what we call semi-occluded warm-ups. A less sciencey, more accessible term would be mouth closed. If your mouth is open and you are speaking and or singing, that is bringing your vocal folds into more or less full contact. The tissue, they're called folds because it's like an accordion. You've got these folds of tissue in your throat, these little flaps, and each flap has this tissue in it that can vibrate together. Again, the air is kind of like the gas in a car, and so you put the fuel into the engine and then the pistons start going, to use a vehicle analogy, right? So if you just go, oh, that's a little too much to begin with. Closed mouth, semi-occluded warm-ups. I'm a huge advocate of that for the reason that what is happening is just the very top layer of those vocal fold tissues are starting to get that fresh. Your brain is telling your heart to send fresh blood to this part of your body. And so you're just getting enough contact. All of those things are are inviting your vocal folds to come together in a peaceful, gentle way that will prepare you to do the more rigorous singing when you actually start opening your mouth. So to recap what we've learned so far, warming up is essential for good singing. The reasons it's essential are it prepares you to do the rigorous singing that you want and need to do to perform whatever your performance goals are in a way that's strong, flexible, confident, and helps you prevent vocal fatigue and injury, which is so important. You see people like John Mayer, Steven Tyler, and a whole host of other singers that cancel tours that millions of people bought tickets for. They have to cancel those tours because they're in vocal surgery. And I don't want any of my students to feel like they have to push through the pain. If it's painful, stop. And once it's no longer painful, begin warming up. That's the best advice I can give to someone. Warm up every day. Doesn't need to be 40 minutes. Just while you're in the shower, while you're brushing your teeth, while you're getting your coffee, while you're in your car driving to work, do some of these warm-ups. The warm-ups that I give to all of my students are and you will have heard this if you've taken a voice lesson with me, are the lip buzz, the closed mouth sound as if you just ate a meal that was very yummy, or a cow mooing, same sound, Okay, another one would be the race car, as if you're going to say the consonant V. This actually is even better if you have a straw. I don't have a straw, but if you have a straw, like one of those little tiny coffee straws you get at Starbucks, those are perfect. Closing your mouth to that tiny aperture and just gently blowing. That's another one. Some of the other ones I've given are the puppy dog, the puppy whining. Start at the high part of your range. I do that 4 or 5 times. Again, that would take you 30 seconds to do that 4 or 5 times, and it will help you so much, especially if one of your goals as a singer is to develop flexibility in your high range. Let's say you're not satisfied with the notes you can sing and you want to sing a little bit higher. That puppy dog warm up, if you do that every day, it's going to really open up the flexibility of your vocal folds. Just like learning how to do the splits. Most of you watching this, including myself, probably cannot accurately, competently perform the splits because it takes a really long time and an intense amount of dedicated concentration on those muscles to stretch out that much. Same thing. If you want to sound like Ariana Grande or Freddie Mercury, guess what? Those people didn't develop the ability to do that overnight. They weren't born doing that. They probably practiced a ton. In the case of Ariana Grande, you may not know this, before she was a world famous pop star, she was actually on Broadway as a child star. She was really, really good. Obviously, she's so good as a pop star, but I'm guessing she had years of really good vocal training to prepare her for the crazy vocal acrobatics she's able to perform. And so that puppy dog one's really good if you want to start doing that high range stuff. None of us are born singing like Mariah Carey. You know, we have to develop that part of our range, and warming up is a great way to do that. Let's see, which ones did I give? Yeah, race car, lip buzz, the lip trill. Technically the mouth is open, but it still counts as one of those semi-occluded exercises where only the top layer of the tissue is getting activated. Once you've done this, like I said, maybe 5 minutes a day, you will immediately notice, if you start doing this over the course of days and weeks, is that you'll have more stamina. If you speak a lot at your job, you will be better at performing that job without coming home with a hoarse voice. And you will sound more confident and more prepared. Another tip I'll give you regarding warm-ups is to begin engaging the breath. And when I say stretch here for your physiological warm-up, I mean it, but also keep in mind that singing is a full body exercise. If I'm working with a piano player for my piano lessons, I will focus more on their wrists, warming up in the same way that we do warm-ups. Work on their wrists so that they can have flexibility, and then we'll do exercise, hand and to warm their voice up, scales and stuff. The warming up looks different for different instruments. But with singing specifically, it is your body is the instrument. If I am playing piano, my fingers are striking these keys, and the hammer hits the keys on the strings on the piano. But when you're singing, this is the instrument. This is the instrument. The air from your lungs is what brings your vocal folds together. I talked about how there's pressure, the air goes through, and there's a bottleneck. And when there's a bottleneck like that, you can think of it like kinking a hose. When you kink a hose, it creates more pressure, so it comes out faster. That's what's happening here. You're essentially closing your vocal folds like this, and then when you exhale after a good breath, it's kind of forcing them apart, and that's what causes the vibrations that allow us to sound beautiful. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound. After you've done the closed mouth warm-ups, you can begin doing open mouth warm-ups where you're actually singing. A great recommendation for how to do this would be to sing the songs that we're working on in our voice lessons together, but just at a much more reasonable, gentle pace. You know, if those high notes are super forte and loud, just sing them mezzo forte and relax, and don't worry about hitting each note perfect. Sing your favorite songs. Find songs to sing on the radio, you know. One kiss is all it takes, Dua Lipa, whatever. You don't need to go full out. You can just begin gently. And what that's doing, so you've engaged that top layer of tissue on your vocal folds. Now you want to get a little deeper, and you still don't want to go full Freddie Mercury or Pavarotti, right? You still want to be gentle. Eventually, if you want to incorporate more vigorous singing, which you hear me do in our voice lessons, you need to be able to do these warm-ups. So we talked today about vocal warm-ups. To summarize everything, if you're still with me, to summarize what we did, a vocal warm-up is a preparation for the function of singing. Just like in sports, you know, you'd never run a marathon without stretching. You shouldn't sing without warming up, and it doesn't take super long, maybe 5 minutes. As a professional singer, someone who pays my bills with this guy, you better believe my warm-up is longer than 5 minutes. But most of you watching this have no aspiration to be a professional singer. You just enjoy singing. So 5 to 10 minutes is perfect. The second thing we talked about to summarize today was that there are mental and physiological warm-ups, and they're both important. So practice the mental imagery. Get that toughness in your head. Don't let stage fright, imagine getting the roses in your hand and a standing ovation from the concert. Imagine that you go out into the audience after a show and everyone's hugging you and telling you what an amazing job you did. If you practice mental toughness, then you will make less mistakes, because if you allow the anxiety of what could happen during a performance, and believe me, it will happen. I've had stage props in musical theater break. I've had I've had swords that would not go in their sheath on stage, and it was not a comedic moment, so I had to figure it out. That stuff happens. I'm not trying to say it doesn't. What I am trying to say is you have no ability to control that. So when you're warming up, not just the physical warm-ups, do the closed mouth warm-ups, but actively close your eyes and envision the type of singing that you want to do. If you're a country singer, think about the kinds of things that you want to sing and the kind of people you want to sing for. Remember, the point of voice lessons is not to become the next American Idol. The point of voice lessons is to find joy through the self-expression of the most human instrument there is. I love the piano. I'm so glad that I can play the piano. It's so gorgeous, but there's just nothing like the human voice. What a privilege that, we're taking voice lessons together. And by that I mean you are the student, but I'm the teacher. And that's a relationship. and we're learning together. Please do not think that I know everything. In fact, I know very little in the grand sense of things. I think I'm pretty good at my job, and I hope you feel the same way. Please leave a comment if you have any questions. Thanks so much.